Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Gaming and a new video on the channel looking at the lake mechanic now that they've implemented their latest patch. Now it looks like this patch is going to be the last one. I can't imagine them doing any more patches in terms of the league mechanic or any of the mechanics in the game at the moment. We're over a month into the league. Normally by 6 weeks, 8 weeks, not many people are left playing seriously anyway. So unless there's some major problems that come up, I think we're not going to see patches other than bug fixes and small improvements. So for lakes, I think this is it. So I've gone and ran the lakes I had built up. It wasn't many because it takes quite a long time to build a really good lake. So I had 5 decent lakes built that I thought I'll go through now that gem chests are gone and I'll test out how it feels. And it does feel better. The currency drops definitely make it better than getting a gem chest in general. One thing I have noticed, however, which I'll come on to later, is they seem to be replaced with other kinds of chests that are also pretty useless. So let's start with lakes in general. So overall, one thing they have never addressed, which I think they should have, is that they're too difficult. At higher level mechanics, when you'll get into like difficulty 14 and 15, on certain tiles, it feels like you're fighting a pinnacle or an uber boss, except the rewards you're getting at the end might be 3 chaos, 2 scours, and some chance orbs. They're just not worth doing at higher difficulties unless you've got a build that can steamroll the content. And if that's the case, you're going to be doing really juiced up mapping that's getting you way more profit than running late. As I say, gem chests are gone, but although they do seem to be replaced with currency for some part, I'm seeing a lot more unique chests and they are just as useless, if not more useless than the gem chests. I think I've opened 12 of these in my 5 lakes, so they are fairly prevalent. And obviously, I've had nothing drop from them. My main issue at the moment with lakes, in terms of are they profitable or not, is your profitability revolves around how lucky you are in terms of currency drops. If you don't drop exalts, you're not going to make decent profit running lakes. But they do drop more common, I think, than in any other mechanic. But you can still go through a huge dry streak of not having one drop, which might mean the profitability of running lakes is going to be low. So you're really only going to do it if you really like the mechanic. So I ran 5 lakes just as a test. That's all I had built that were really worthwhile running. None of them went to extreme level 15 difficulties, but most of them went to 12 or 13. And from 6 onwards, they had all 3 and 4 notch tiles. And these are the kind of maps and lakes that I think you're going to be running. You're not going to be able to run lots and lots of the perfect lake unless you are doing hundreds of maps a day and building these lakes. So the general player is going to have lakes that maybe go up to 11 and 12 difficulty. Most of the tiles are notch, and are they worth running? And in terms of actual value, yes, they are. Like I think in the 5 I ran, which took me just under half an hour, I had 2.5 divines worth of currency and various stuff drop. It does include 1 divine, so let's take that off. So we'll have 1.4 divines in half an hour, which again sounds good. Like if you could guarantee 3 divines an hour for running these, you do it. It's fairly laid back content for the most part. But the issue I've got is that value is in various different things. It might be 4 June maps. It might be a few scarabs here. It could be bubblegum currency that you can't sell until you get massive bulks of it. It's going to be stacked decks, which again, the more you get, the more they're going to be worth. It's looking at what I got. I had like 46 or 47 different types of things drop that added up to the value. And most of them you're not going to sell unless you get massive quantities. So I don't think as a profit-making thing, it's that great because all you're going to be relying on is scarabs. When you get a scarab chest, stacked decks, and then raw currency, that is pretty much what you're going to be relying on. And I just don't think it's worth it because how long it takes to build a lake. And then that's the next thing I wanted to come on to. Is people are saying, oh, well, lakes are profitable, but, you know, throw them in the bin unless you can get 15 or 16. And only if you get all these elemental tiles. If you do that, you're only going to be building a lake about every 100 maps. Because you might get a 4 out of 5 offered, or you might get a 5/5, but it starts with really bad tiles and you can't move them. So yes, I understand that the big lakes might be profitable, but it's not a thing that a normal player is going to be able to build. So let's say you average 2.5 tiles per map. When you run one, that's what you can build because it's either 2 or 3. So it can take 8+ maps just to build a lake if you get lucky. But let's say you get to the end and you don't get a move water tile and you brick your lake. You've got to throw it in a bin and start again. Then that's another 8 maps. You might get a 4x5. You're like, no, destroy a tablet after 4 or 5 maps. So it might be 20 maps to build one lake. That's not really even worthwhile looking at, because you've got to consider that you can't just stop mid-mapping to build these lakes, because you're going to be in a massive group of enemies. So realistically, you're clearing either part of the map, or if you want to keep your buffs up, the whole map, and then you're going back at the end to finish building your lake. It's just not worth it. The profitability is just not there unless you are in love with the mechanic, which I don't actually know anyone that says they like it. It's, to me, it's waiting for the thing to be built while you're trying to get across is really annoying. Scenery and obstacles are annoying, and generally there's just not enough variety in it, along with the fact that the reflection thing is absolute junk. So the other thing I wanted to look at is buying lakes. Could we maybe buy lakes to run them? Because they are profitable, but they're just a pain because you can't really run loads of them because they take a while to build. But if you could get something up to, say, difficulty 12, and then they're all notch tiles after that, they are going to be profitable and they are quick. It only really takes time when you get to your 13, 14, and 15s and your fights take a little bit longer, and you might die and you have to run back. But it's pretty much a non-starter buying lakes because they haven't really set up the trade function very well. So the way it works is you can search for a specific room and you can say what difficulty you want that room to be. So you could put in the name for whatever the 3-notch lightning tile is, search for it and say, I want that to be at least difficulty 11, and it will show you all the lakes that have that tile in it. But then you've then got to look at the rest of that tile and understand what each of the rooms mean, and knowing what tiers they are. Unless you really, really know, which no one's going to, unless you really take the time to look it up, you could end up with a lake that's got 2-notch tiles on it and the rest are crap, and they're going to cost you 15 to 20 chaos to buy. So lakes are too expensive for a start on trade, and secondly, there isn't the functionality to buy them. For trade to work for lakes, it really needed something where you could say, rather than difficulty, you want how many notches are on that tile and how many tiles have notches on. So if you could search for a lake with 7 tiles with 3 notches or more, that'd be perfect, because then you can just search, brings up all the lakes. You then know, without even needing to look at that lake, that it's got 7 rooms or 7 tiles that are going to be worthwhile looting. Other than that, I really don't think it's possible to buy lakes unless you're looking for reflections or the paradise tile. And as I mentioned, obstacles in lakes still make them awful for some builds. I run or tornado shot build, but I run long shot. So the more distance I get, the better. In lakes, it's just not possible. I'm pretty much having to stand right next to the enemy, so I might as well be point blank, but I don't want to re-switch my tree just to run lakes. It can be really hard to get distance. There's trees, there's big rocks, there's just lots of things that get in the way. And then the last thing in terms of the lakes is the league mechanics still suck in them. They seem to not be very well optimized. They seem to be more difficult than in maps and less rewarding. Like I did a level 6 or 7 notched Harbinger tile, and I think I got 1 ancient shard and 3 cow shards out of the whole thing. And it takes time because you have to wait for them to spawn. I think it took 2 minutes to clear that tile, and it just wasn't worth it. So league mechanic stuff, don't put on your lakes. Just literally run through them. I think the only ones worth putting on are going to be Expedition because of the reroll currencies, and they're not too bad. It's killing a few mobs and then taking down a boss. So that's kind of it for my input on the lake changes. Honestly, it doesn't change things that much. Yes, gem tiles are gone and they're replaced with currency tiles, but it doesn't change the profitability of the lakes. They're still not as profitable as most of your mapping strategies, and in my opinion, it's not as fun. Yes, currency chests have been increased, so you are more likely to get, Lucky Divine and Exalt drops and things like that. And if you run the lakes because you enjoy them, go for it. You are going to make money. They're going to be profitable. I would think on average, you're going to be looking at around 3 divines an hour if you do them at a normal pace. You could definitely get more if you did them quickly. But to me, the whole chore of building them while you're in a map, when you're trying to clear the map, just doesn't work. And I think overall, the mechanics are bust. The league's a pretty big bust with all the issues they had with Arch Nemesis at the beginning. And let's hope in 320 they get things right from the off, because I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble reputation-wise if they don't sort it out. So I'm probably not going to do much more PoE content this league because I'm just not enjoying playing. I've done the builds that I want to do. It's nothing to do with the changes to loot or anything like that. I still think it's easy to make plenty of currency. My issue is that I don't like the league mechanic. And after my final testing, even if I did like it, lakes take you 3 minutes to run, but they might take you 8 to 10 maps to build. So let's say you're doing 10 maps an hour, for example, you might get a lake an hour. That's not enough to do content. I would have to basically do 12 hours worth of mapping to get enough lakes to do for an hour. So even if I like the league mechanic, it's such a small portion of the league that I feel like I'm playing standard and I don't want to play standard. So I think I'm going to knock trade on the head for a while at least, have a couple of week break, play a couple of different games. Maybe bring some videos out on different games. I'm not sure yet. But there will be more PoE to come this league, but it's probably going to be in the form of SSF. So I will be taking a short break from the game. When I come back, it's either going to be a fresh SSF restart or just a totally wacky off-meta build that's probably rubbish, but is fun in trade. I just want to do something that's enjoyable. I'm not bothered about, speed clearing T16 juice maps. I just want to play a game that I actually enjoy. And at the moment, PoE feels a bit of a chore. So yeah, when I come back, it's either fresh SSF run, but it's going to be fairly off-meta, or a new trade build, but again, it's super off-meta and super cheap. If anyone's got any ideas, please post them in the comments in the video. But for now, that's it. So for those that are still playing the league, I hope you're still enjoying it. Take care and see you in the next one.